Hey, Grant, I'd really love your help with some techniques to reverse pelvic tilt. Question sent through from BJ. Reverse pelvic tilt, the correct term is posterior pelvic tilt. And that is simply a tucking of the tailbone. Anterior pelvic tilt is the opposite. So I'll show you what I mean. So anterior pelvic tilt, we've got that. So as you can see, my butt sticks out, my hips are tilted forward, my abs are disengaged, my glutes are disengaged, my hamstrings are on stretch. And funny enough, a lot of people spend a lot of time in this position, even just with just day-to-day living, even just simply standing and it's usually caused from sitting down way too long, chronic tight hip flexors, terrible glute strength, terrible core strength. The opposite, what she's aiming for is posterior pelvic tilt. So posterior pelvic tilt, if I'm in anterior right now, posterior is the opposite. It's a tucking of the tailbone, sort of a crunching down of the abs, a flexing of the glutes, and that is posterior. Now, why would we want to hit posterior pelvic tilt? So for most girls watching this video, getting some sort of posterior pelvic tilt on a lot of your glute exercises is a good idea. For example, hip thrusts, glute bridges, sometimes Romanian deadlifts, just to sort of finish the glutes off, just to finish the end range of the glutes, like what you would with a bicep curl, right? So the end range for the bicep curl to finish off is right here. It's the same thing for the glutes. A tucking of the tailbone is the sort of the end final, as far as the glutes can go, all right? So it is a good idea for some glute exercises. It's not a good idea for every exercise though, okay? So for example, if your back is loaded with a heavy barbell and then you posterior pelvic tilt at the top standing, not a good idea. Simply because when you posterior pelvic tilt, then your vertebrae will obviously moves along with it. And we don't want a lot of movement going through your vertebrae when your barbell is loaded with a heavy spine. So there is some exercises you do want to get a bit of a posterior pelvic tilt, and there's other exercises where you don't. You just want to be in neutral. Now, as a coach, if I find someone that's in too much anterior pelvic tilt, even at say even just with a military press, right? I'll say, hey, tuck your tailbone under. Now, that's an overcorrection. They will be tucking their tailbone under and getting into posterior pelvic tilt, but I'm just saying it to get them just back to neutral. I just want them to be in neutral. I don't want them to be in anterior pelvic tilt. I want them to be in neutral. So I will sometimes say it for a particular exercise as an overcompensation just to simply bring them back to balance if they are in too much anterior pelvic tilt. So she mentioned too in the question that all she has right now is the mirror to help her try and find posterior pelvic tilt and or even just neutral. I've got one drill for you. Grab a band. Now you need a band thicker than this. I'm only using this band just for the camera's sake to be able to get in shot because a tougher band wouldn't allow me to get that distance. So get a decent band, hook it up onto something that's not going to move. Now jump in the band, and what you're going to do is put the band right around quite deep on your pelvis. I'll show you. All right, so here's my band. Put it deep on the pelvis. Now you'll face away from where the band is attached. And what you're going to do is practice tucking the tailbone back and forth. Now, when the band tension is strong enough, it's going to pull you into anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, so give you side view. It's going to pull you into anterior pelvic tilt with your butt sticking out. Now, all you need to do is create tension by squeezing your glutes and pressing into that band tension, and then that will help you find at least neutral and then get some posterior pelvic tilt as well. So that's one drill you can try. It's an R&T trick from Gray Cook. I find it really useful for people who really struggle to find posterior or even just neutral pelvic tilt. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Now, if you'd like to run more questions like this by me or just have more conversations like this, I've got a free Facebook group. It's called Girls Who Lift with Grant. If you search that name on Facebook, you can request to join the group or even link in the comment section on this video. Apart from that, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.